So PSEG kind of marches to their own drummer. There's some coordination, obviously, with the electrical inspector and the electrical contractor, but it's pretty much when they say go, that's when you go. And so they were actually here 2 days. This is Wednesday morning. They were here 2 days earlier on Monday, and I got a call from my customers saying they were here. And of course, I had no notice that they were there. And the plan was not for them to just do what they got to do, and I'll come back and hook up their electric whenever I can. So they left, and I was able to speak with my PSEG inspector and coordinate them to come back the following day to make these connections. So what they did was they got up on an extension ladder and attached it to the service mast that you saw in the previous video, and they ran this 3-wire riser cable to the mid-span connector that you see to the right there. So here, the lineman's up in the bucket truck, and he's disconnecting the secondary temporarily while he is energizing the mid-span connection. And then he'll come back and re-splice that together, and we'll be on our merry way. What you don't see in this video is them disconnecting the previous service drop from the street to the old 200 amp service. So once the work gets approved by the inspector emails the utility PSEG what's known as a cutting card. PSEG receives the cutting card, and they know that the work can be scheduled. And so that's where we are today. I have a lot of respect for PSEG. I know not everybody has that for the utility company, but without them doing what they do, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So I have great respect for these linemen. And you'll see here he comes back down. He's all set. And you'll see in a moment here, I just wave hello to him saying thank you for your hard work. And everybody's in a good mood, and they're on their way. The guy standing next to me, we were talking quite a bit. He was a nice guy. Been an electrician for a long time. He's been with PSEG, I think he said about 10 or 12 years. He likes what he does. So if you like linemen, go ahead and like this video. So there's the new drop to the mast. Some beautiful rose bushes there. And of course, there's the transformer that it's connected to. So power has been off for a little while, and so the generator's been running. But before I work in that transfer switch, I have to turn the generator off because I'm going to be working in the transfer switch and I don't want to get shocked. So I turned off the generator so it's not on. And this, just as a precaution, I turned the circuit breaker off as well. So there'll be no possibility of getting shocked or any live wires as I start working and connecting the new feeder cable to this automatic transfer switch. Okay, so right here are what's known as my service entrance conductors. They come in to this main breaker right here. This is the automatic transfer switch. These are getting removed, and this is getting removed. Okay, and in its place, we're gonna install this feeder cable. So 2 of the conductors are gonna land on this main breaker right here. The neutral is going to land where the previous service entrance conductor is landed in this terminal for the neutral. And then we're going to bring our ground. It looks like I might have to get a lug for the ground here. All right, because this is my neutral block. And then what we're going to do is just remove this bonding screw right here. This way, this neutral terminal block right here will be independent of the enclosure. That's why we ran 4 wires in our service entrance riser cable. So that's the anatomy of what we're doing today. This is a service-rated automatic transfer switch, so naturally all of our grounding and bonding takes place here. We ran new grounding electrical conductors and installed new grounding electrodes in the new service disconnect that we installed on the previous video. Existing grounding electrodes were disconnected after the new service was energized. Here, now you see here, this is the 4-wire feeder from the main disconnect on the outside. And so what I did was I set it up in this bay. I strapped it as far as I could, but I left the last 10 or 12 feet here unstrapped for the time being. And it's going across those braces there for the joists. And it's laying on that. So I pull back a little bit of slack right here so I can get the end of this cable near the top of the enclosure, as you can see there. Now I'm going to come back, and getting this wire started in this connector is going to be a lot simpler. Just got to persuade for these big cables to go your way. A little leverage. We all need leverage in life. If you're going to be a good electrician, you need to figure out leverage and use it to your best advantage. So it's a little difficult going through this connector. So I go back onto the other side and I start pushing it through just a little bit. I'll come back to the enclosure here and pull on that side a little bit. Now I'm not too concerned about damaging the insulation here because it's going to be inside the enclosure. When you pull a wire such as this, you want to pull a little bit extra. I always like to say a mile too long, but not. It's better to be a mile too long than an inch too short, but not 2 miles. And that's the case here. This was actually cut off the reel at 75 feet. And I just made it on the meter disconnect side, and I just made it here at the transfer switch. It worked out perfect. And I don't know if I speak for most electricians, but we've all been there where we've done work like this and the wire was short and you had to do it again. I can't be the only one. Let me know in the comments if you're a licensed electrician or just working as an electrician, or maybe you're just starting and you're a helper. Let me know if you've done that on the job. Let me know your tale. So it looks like I get it inside the transfer switch, no problem. A little bit more slack there. This took a little while, but I worked it and eventually got it all set. And in a moment here, I'll just try to straighten this out so as it's coming through that connector, it's going down straight. So it'll be easier to work with the conductors. If they're going on an angle or too much of an angle, it'll be a little more difficult to work with. Let me know what you think. So then you just mess around. Once I took out the old service entrance conduit, I had the bushing, and here I'm just tightening up the clamp on the top. I'm not drilling too hard. Obviously, you don't want to damage a conductor. And being that I had a 2-inch bushing nearby, I put that on. It's not required because this is a cable assembly, but since I had it, and the rest of the panel had insulated bushings on all the conduit and cable connectors, I put the 2-inch bushing back. Pick it up. Whenever I change out panels and do upgrades, I have a special Vito tool carrier that I use. It has all my service equipment, the strippers, the ratchet cutters, the Panatrox, the rubber tape, the T-handled hex head drivers. And so I forgot to bring that today. I just wasn't thinking, because I'm not changing this, I'm just adding to it. So I had to do it like old school way with obviously you saw me using my oscillating tool and my utility knife to strip back these conductors to get these conductors terminated inside the transfer switch. It took a little bit longer. It's okay. had to install a nut and bolt, a 1/4-20, and this lug to attach it to the enclosure because there was not a large enough terminal to attach this equipment grounding conductor to the enclosure. So I used a 1/4-20 nut and bolt. Once our 4-wire feeder from our main disconnect to this transfer switch is complete, we can go outside, install the meter, and turn on the main disconnect. What? I actually really like these new meters. That's plastic around there, and it used to be glass. So banging on it, I always feared I was gonna break the glass, or if you drop it, you break the glass. I feel like I've dropped these meters maybe once or twice, banged on them, and there's never been a problem. So I think I'm a big fan of the plastic meters now. It's really sweet to work with just one enclosure instead of two enclosures. Whereas if you have the meter and you have the main and the two different enclosures, it's a lot more work. I'll get that. All right, so the last thing I want to check here before I can say this is complete, well, it's not going to be complete until we tear down the old service, which what I want to try now is to make sure the generator turns on when power is lost, since we did work in the transfer switch. So I'm going to simply turn off the main disconnect and then wait for the generator to start, and then I'll go inside and see if it transferred the load, and then we'll come back out here and we'll turn this breaker back on, and then we'll know that a load test was done and the generator is working efficiently. There you go, you just heard it. Now we've transferred the load. That took about 30 seconds to transfer. A little surprised by that, but obviously you can see that these lights are back on. All right. You guys remember this room working in here when we ran the new supply feeder through the ceiling here? Remember when we did that? Right through, back over through here. We got that all done. So other than taking down the rest of the old service, this completes the video. Hey, welcome to the first ever Electrician Ron bonus footage section of the video. This is my new 32-foot extension ladder. My old 32-foot extension ladder started showing the fibers of the fiberglass. So at that point, it's time to get a new ladder before it breaks on you. And my 24-foot extension ladder is brand new as well, because that too was showing the fiberglass falling through, and started part of the outside dimensions of the ladder started failing. So before it breaks and you're operating a ladder, buy a new ladder. All right, so I'm up here with the oscillating tool with a special bimetal bit from who's the manufacturer there? I can't think of the name at the moment. Anyway, just to cut away the screws that hold the straps that hold the conduit in place here. Now, I originally thought that this was all 2-inch rigid metal, but I later found out that this was only EMT. And EMT is a much lighter conduit than the rigid, so I was very grateful for that because they use 3/0 copper conductors, and so just taking away a, you know, like a 5-foot section like the service head right here, that could weigh, you know, 50 pounds. And you're up there on a ladder. Anyway, it was a lot less than that. And this was one of the largest risers I've ever worked on. This was like, I don't know, something like 25 or 28 feet high. 2 full lengths and then almost another full length up by the service head. So taking this down, I knew was going to be a job and a half. And so I went out, I picked up the new ladder. I took my A-frame, 8-foot A-frame ladder off of the top of the truck so I could bring it to the job site here. So when I bought this actually at Home Depot, I could bring it to the job without handling it more than I needed to. This ladder is very, very heavy and costs a lot of money as well. So up here on the ladder, I just wanted to take down sections at a time, and there's real no true way, good way of doing this work. I just took off a little bit at a time and tried to cut as much as I could from it, and then try to work it so that the kink in the metal would break, and then I could just have a small section with the conductors in them to break away, and then just, you know, toss it onto the yard here before cutting it up over by the by my truck with the bandsaw. So here I really struggled, and you can see I'm still pretty way up. I'm up by the second floor window here, so I'm still at least 30, about 20 feet high up on the ladder. I thought I went all the way through here, but there was still some strands of copper keeping this from falling and breaking apart. So you'll see here in a second, I grabbed the Sawzall one-handed while I have the other hand on the conduit to cut away the couple strands of copper so I can take this away. I don't want this to just fall on its own because I don't want to break a window or destroy any of the landscaping on the lady's property here. But this was a major challenge here. And of course, the sun was just baking on me right here. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon when I'm doing this here. This was rough. Yep. Take a rocket ride. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.